السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولي الصالحين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-A'raf, chapter 7, verse 172, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ أخذ ربك من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريتهم وأشهدهم على أنفسهم ألست بربكم قالوا بلى شهدنا أن تقولوا يوم القيامة إنا كنا على هذا غافلين. When your Lord drew forth from the children of Adam, from their loins, from their back, their descendants, and made them testify as to themselves, saying, Am I not your Lord, who cherishes and sustains you? They say, Yes, we do testify. This lest you should say on the day of judgment, of this we were never mindful. Inshallah, we'll continue the energy that our scholars started last weekend with the pathway to Jannah by talking about the stages of life. This is not gonna finish today. This is gonna take some time. The different stages that we take in life. And it starts from the spiritual world in the heavens. Based on this ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He took from the back of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam, or our father Adam alayhi salam, all the spirits, and we'll read the hadith from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam explaining it, all the spirits of every human being that started from the children of Adam alayhi salam until the day of judgment. All the spirits came from the back of Adam alayhi salam. This is what we call, what the ulama call the spiritual world. All these spirits are there. This is and these spirits, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took a covenant from them, that He talked to them after He created all of them, that am I not your Lord? He's asking them, am I not your Lord? And they testified that yes, you are our Lord. So every human being in this earth testified for the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that spiritual world. Of course, when they come down to life, you will find some of them atheists, and like our scholars told us over the weekend, last weekend, that's when does the atheist remember there is Allah? Or when he's in a ship or when he's a plane, or when his life is in danger, he recognizes or she recognizes that there is Allah. Why? They went back to their innate nature, and their innate nature, they testified based on this ayah to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But before we go into the details of that stage, the first stage, which is the stage of a spiritual stage, when we are in a ruh, the spirit, it's the first law of thermodynamics. I want to bring it back like to something simple. Like our scholars said, there are things about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we cannot comprehend, we cannot understand. Like when the Sheikh was trying to explain, if you take a barrel of water to the ocean and try to put all the ocean in that barrel, you can't. There are a lot of things you can't comprehend. I will try to make it as simple as possible. The first rule of thermodynamics, they explain to us that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It gets transferred from one state or one stage to another. You have to look at our spirit as an energy. Humans cannot create it. The one who created all these spirits, as based on this ayah, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No human being can create a spirit, right? So this spirit is an energy. This spirit does not die. This spirit goes from one stage to another. So when this physical body dies, or something happened to it in an airplane, or God forbid in wars and or accidents where or a car gets exploded and the body gets incinerated, what gets destroyed is the body and the organ. The spirit does not, the soul does not get destroyed. That's an energy created by Allah. It just goes from one stage to another. There will be another life. And this is the stages and the life that we are going to discuss in detail, but not all the stages to date, of course. So Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam explained that stage, that ayah that I just read from Surah Al-A'raf through a hadith narrated by Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, and it's authentic hadith. Imam al-Albani even authenticated it. That the Messenger of Allah said, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, he wiped his back, and every person that he created among his offspring until the day of resurrection fell out of his back. So all these spirits came out from the back of our father, Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam. He placed a glimmering light between the eyes of every person. And that's why the ulama, based on this saying of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, they call it the spiritual world. That's when they were in the heavens. Then he showed them, Allah showed them to Adam, and he said, "O Lord," Adam said, "O Lord, who are these people?" He said, "These are your offspring." He saw one of them whose glimmer between his eyes amazed him. So he said, "O Lord, who is this?" He said, "This is a man from the latter nation of your offspring," from the latter nation. And this is Muhammad saying this over 1400 years ago, from the latter nation of your offspring called Dawood. That's Dawood alayhi salam. He said, "Lord, how long did you make his lifespan?" He said, 60 years. He said, "Oh Lord, add 40 years from my life. Add 40 years from the life of Adam alayhi salam." So at the end of Adam's life, the angel of death comes to him and he said, "Don't I have 40 more years remaining?" This is Adam telling the angel of death. And the angel of death said, "Didn't you not give them to your son Dawood?" He said, Adam denied. So his offspring denied, and Adam forgot, and his offspring forgot, and Adam sinned, and so his offspring sinned. So Adam alayhi salam, when he was still in heaven, he totally forgot that he gave 40 years of his life to Dawood alayhi salam. So Dawood alayhi salam originally was written for him before, like way before he even was on earth, that it was written for him, because we know in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, in the preserved tablet, all of us until the last human being, their life, their story, their bounty, everything is written for everyone. No one knows what is written. We discussed that before many times. So we cannot run our life based on something we don't know. We have to run our life, like our scholars explained last weekend, based on what we are taught in the Quran and the Sunnah. So all these spirits testified for the oneness of Allah, and they forgot that they testified for the oneness of Allah, including the atheist, obviously. Adam alayhi salam said, "Give 40 years of my life to Dawood," and he totally forgot. And the same thing happened to all of us. Now we know Adam alayhi salam lived a very long life. He died when he was 1,000 years old. He lived a very long life, but it was originally written for him 1,040 years. He gave that 40 years to Dawood alayhi salam, or Dawood died when he was 100. Now I want you to pay attention that when Allah told him, "This is the glimmering light, this is from one of your offspring from the latter nations." Now we have to understand that Dawood alayhi salam at least was 3,000 years ago, a little, or at least 3,000 years ago, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he was from the latter nations. So we are like really closer to the day of judgment, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the merciful, willed that he is not going to take the sons of Adam accountable based on that first covenant that we gave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we were in spiritual world. Does any one of you remember that from billions or God knows more than billions years ago that when we were in the spiritual world, that we testified to the oneness of Allah? Nobody remembers this. But we did based on this ayah, that we testified. That's our nature. So as we know, some of when we came down to earth, obviously when we grew up, Shaitan was strong enough to kidnap us. And the Hadith al-Qudsi over Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam said, خلقت عبادي حنفاء كلهم فاجتالتهم الشياطين عن دينهم. That in Hadith Qudsi, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Allah said, I created my servant Hunafa, monotheist. Allah is saying that I created all the human beings, my servant, to be testifying to the oneness of Allah. But the devils came to them and deviated them from their religion. That's exactly what happened. All right? But we are created to be monotheists. So this is the first stage of life when we were in the spiritual world, when we were just spirits. So all these kids, they were written for them to be born, wherever there are all of us. And then comes the next stage. The next stage, when we are in the life in the mother's womb. As we know from Surah Al-Ahqaf, chapter 46 and verse 15, Allah mentions that we stay in our mother's wombs and that the mothers take care of us for 30 months. And this was one of the scientific miracles of the Quran, that we stay in our mother's womb and then she takes care of us. The moms take care of us for 30 months. When they did the math, obviously, that 6 months inside the mom's womb and 24 months nursing. That is where the 30 months comes in Surah Al-Ahqaf. So the scientists discovered that a human being, a child, can be completely formed when he or she is 6 months and can be born in 6 months and just need an incubator. But it will be a full human being at 6 months. Back in those days, they didn't know that, but this is one of the scientific miracles of the Quran. So any child born from 6 to 9 months is a full-term child and can survive. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the stages of humans, how he was or she was created. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the steps that humans were created. The first one is Adam alayhi salam, when he was created from clay. Before us, there were jinn living on earth before us, like according to the scholars, about at least 2,000 years before us. But earth was here. And then they ordered the angels to collect from every area in earth, dust, and that's how he created Adam alayhi salam as we know. Then he placed him as a drop of sperm in a place of rest firmly fixed. But the offspring of Adam alayhi salam came from a drop of sperm placed in a place of rest, in the womb of a mother. Then we made the sperm into a clot of congealed blood. This is another ayah that proves the scientific miracles of the Quran. Then of that clot we made fetus, al-mudghah, lump. Then we made out of that lump bones and clothed that bones with flesh, lahma. Then we developed out of it another creature. So blessed be Allah, the best to create. Now Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam explains the stages in the mother's womb when a child is in the mother's womb. He said the matter, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said through the narration of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, the matter of creation of a human being is put together in the womb of the mother in 40 days. So that's the first 40 days. And then he becomes a clot of thick blood for a similar period. So that's another 40 days. That's 80 now. and then a piece of flesh for a similar period. That's another 40. Now we are 120. So we passed the 3 months, the first trimester, and we passed the first month of the second trimester. Then the angel is ordered to write 4 things. So now the spirit that we talked about in the first stage, that's when it gets transferred from that stage to that second stage in the mother's womb. He is ordered to write down his bounty, his deeds, his date of death, and whether he or she will be blessed or miserable. Does anyone of you remember that? We can't remember the spiritual world, and we can't remember that the angel came when we were inside our mother's womb, and that angel goes and tells us these 4 things. Nobody remembers this. But we know it happened because it's mentioned in the Quran, and the Rasul ﷺ told it to us. So a man amongst you may do good deeds till there is only an arm length between him and paradise, and then what has been written for him decides his behavior, and he starts doing evil deeds characteristic of the people of the hellfire. Walayadu billah. And similarly, a man amongst you may do evil deeds till there is only one arm length between him and the hellfire, and then what has been written for him decides his behavior, and he starts doing the deeds and characteristics of the people of paradise. Now, I don't want to complicate the matters of, I discussed it before, the matter of al-qada wal-qadar, Allah's will and Allah's divine decree. We don't know, we don't remember what Allah has written in this preserved tablets when we were in the spiritual world. There is no way for us to remember that, and we never read it. We don't, even if we did, we don't remember it. We don't know what Allah has written for us when we were inside our mother's womb. There is no way on earth we're going to remember this, right? What we're going to remember is when we are old, and that spirit Now it's called the spirit, but once the spirit inside the body, and there is Allah created us with an intellect. Now that's where we start saying it's a soul. That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the nafs in the Quran. But the ulama will always tell you ruh and nafs is the same thing. It's used interchangeably, but it's the same thing. But it's a ruh when it's outside of the body, but when it's inside the body, we call it a nafs. Why? Because that's when we are accountable, because we are using our intellect to decide between what's right and what's wrong. But to go and dig deep into the technicalities of a ruh or a spirit, Allah answers this in Surah Al-Isra. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلُ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. When Allah told Allah is telling the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, when they ask you, O Muhammad, concerning the spirit, concerning the ruh, say the spirit is by the command of my Lord of knowledge. It is only a little that is communicated to you, O men. So this is why ulama say, oh, okay, they can clone our body. It's no problem. They can clone our heart, our kidneys, our brains. They can clone it, but they can never bring it back to life. Because you gotta imagine this ruh is like the fuel, but this is a fuel that never dies. Like we said, energy can never be created by a human being and can never be destroyed. So it's an ongoing energy. We just go from one life to another, right? But this ruh, this soul, is what gives the energy to every cell, to the blood, to everything in our body, right? Without it, there will be no life. So they can clone our body, but they can never, ever clone ruh, spirit, nafs. They can never clone that. And that will never happen. So there will always be a robot for you. So the spirit is like a lot of scholars, they mention the spirit as the fuel in the car, but the fuel in the car runs out, but this spirit will always have the energy. They will never run out, will never dies. The spirit is like the fuel in the car. The car will never move without that fuel, whether the fuel is gas or battery or solar cells or whatever form of fuel. Same thing our bodies. Our cells and organs are not going to come to life and function without that spirit. The baby inside the mother's womb does not breathe air. All that what it gets is from the mother's womb. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it in the Quran how before even scientists discovered it. This is another scientific miracle of the Quran. يخلقكم في بطون أمهاتكم خلقا من بعد خلق في ظلمات ثلاث ذلكم الله ربكم له الملك لا إله إلا هو فأنا تصرفون. He makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another, in three veils of darknesses, such as Allah, your Lord and Cherisher. To Him belongs all dominion. There is no God but He. Then how are you turned away? This is in Surah Al-Zumar, chapter 39, verse 6. So the three veils, the three parts, the three darknesses, or the three stages of darknesses inside the mom's womb is the interior abdominal wall, the uterine wall, and the placenta and its membranes. And that's how the child eats and drinks and everything, right? Can you clone that? Can you do that? They can never do that. They can't go and bring the soul after 120 days, right? And when you ask doctors, as a matter of fact, if there are doctors in here, when does life start? They'll tell you it starts after 120 days, right? And this is where the difference becomes between us and the Christians and the Jews, because to them, life starts with the baby as soon as the egg gets from the woman's side gets inseminated. For us, life starts when the ruh is in there, right? Now, I don't want to get into the subject of abortion. The default for us, abortion is not allowed, obviously, like other religions, except in two situations where it's agreed upon for our scholars, which is the mother's life is in danger and a case of rape. But other than that, even though life happens after 120 days, abortion, the default for us is haram, except in these, what's agreed upon among all our scholars, these two situations. There are other situations, but there is a difference of opinion about it, except for these two situations. Inshallah, next time we'll talk about when the child is born, and the third stage is when we are out and we are in this life. But the bottom line, what we need you to understand is originally we testified that this is our innate nature, and there are many hadiths to explain that we are created from the beginning, from our spirit, to testify to the oneness of Allah. It's just when we came to this life, even though Allah explains many times in the Quran, and Rasul ﷺ warned us that Iblis, Shaitan, Lucifer, the devil, is our enemy, and yet we listen to him. No matter how many times we get warned, we end up listening to the devils, and they take us away from the straight path. Even those atheists that denied the existence of Allah, at one point in their life, when they were in spiritual world, they testified to the oneness of Allah, but obviously they don't remember. And the only time they remember is when their life is in danger. I would like to remind myself first and foremost, and you, with the hadith of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, the two words very heavy in the scale of good deeds, very light on the tongue, Subhanallah wa bihamdih, Subhanallah al-Azim. Say it at least 100 times a day. I ask Allah for forgiveness, and so ask Allah for forgiveness. He's the most merciful, the most forgiving. And do the sunnah, inshallah.